Looks like the sun is out again, but again, the weather today said it was supposed to be raining, so if I knew, I would have planned like maybe for, again, a little trip to find a place to fly the drone. Now, some interesting news. You guys check out that new DJI goggle? Like, it looks like it's basically for first-person view. I've normally only seen this kind of stuff for FPV racers, but I guess like based on some of the videos, they're using it for the Mavic Pro. I always wondered about these, how effective they are. Do you actually prefer flying your drones wearing these goggles, or do you prefer just looking it up in the air and at the screen at the same time? Because I would think for stuff like that, I'd probably prefer personally at the moment just staring at the screen. I mean, I'm comfortable with technology like that. I mean, I have things like a Gear VR. I even use things like, does anyone still remember things like a Virtual Boy, for example? I've used things like that, but I don't know. In terms of flying, I would think you still need to be aware of your actual like physical surrounding around you, as opposed to just what's in the drone. So in that sense, I'm a little bit skeptical about using stuff like that. Then again, I've never tried it before, so maybe it is more efficient. I always wondered if stories like these make it out to the overall general public, because I would assume stuff like this, again, is more digital media news. Has anybody out there ever kept track of this Daddy05 story? It's essentially a YouTube channel where the parents are, I guess, with the kids, but they do a lot of crazy things to the kids. Like, they yell at them, they play these really violent pranks, and because of that, basically, it got exposed and it basically blew up. So afterwards, first they're trying to justify it, saying, no, the kids are fine, you know, it's not abuse and all that, but some of the videos, like, of the kids, like, you know, they're hitting each other, slamming each other, the parents are hitting them, like, holy, it's crazy. Or convincing, like, you know, the boys to hit the girls, it's crazy. And then after it blew up, afterwards, they kind of issued an apology, but it doesn't seem like the majority of the public or internet community believes them. It made me think too, because with all this talk of media and drones and not getting the stories out there, like in this case, it just takes one regular person, in my opinion, putting out the story, even though the mainstream media is ignoring it. But afterwards, they pay attention just because everyone else, they start sharing the information out. And so that's what I like about publishing stuff on the internet. You just never know. Just put your stuff out there, and hopefully it makes a difference. So that leads me to some of the stories I read about drones and the way they're covered again, like in the media, which I found kind of interesting. This one's actually from one of you guys, so the viewers. So specifically here, DJ Hex, you're telling me basically you went skydiving and there was a plane that basically went way under the feet that it should be. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you said it was a WestJet plane, like when you were skydiving, and that it should be rather 10,000 feet in the air, but for some reason it was 9,000 feet, so it was really close to you guys, and that's a real danger. And I guess with this, nothing like that has been reported to my knowledge in the public, so I thought it was kind of interesting if you actually had information about this, because it always makes me curious. Why is a drone report, like even if it's like say a 250-gram drone that's near an airport or flying in a place where it shouldn't, get so much attention, whereas something like this that's so huge and in my opinion is way more dangerous does not get equal treatment? There seems to be something wrong there, isn't it? I don't know, it kind of makes me curious again, like why is that the case? I mean, even with this air traffic control towers, like don't they have records of this, like where the public can actually see this? Because even though you mentioned you only have the pictures, I mean, that's kind of interesting if you have the pictures and like the information to go along with it. Because like for a person like me, I'd wonder like, well, why aren't you publishing like this stuff in the media, so to speak, equally just as drone? Is it just because the topic isn't as exciting, if that makes sense? Because it's not the flavor of the month? Oh, by the way, you must be nuts jumping out of planes like that all the time. Although it would be kind of cool because, in my opinion, to spread the message of drones and all that, it'd be kind of cool if you could actually get drone footages of people skydiving, but although I don't know how that would work. Then again, I guess technically the skydiver can be the drone camera too, right? That brings me to one of the main stories I read just recently, and apparently it happened, I believe it was just yesterday. There was some kind of standoff or something like that in a residential area, if that's the right word for it. Like I think they said like someone had a dispute and the people in the house had weapons, so they brought all these police officers to the area, tried to like, you know, calm down the situation and all that. And basically, to my knowledge, what happened was apparently there was a drone there, and I'm guessing based on the news report it was a Mavic Pro. And there was commentary from the police saying how, like, you know, the people live streaming drone videos are really disruptive to the process. Now, I'm not saying, for example, you should be allowed necessarily to fly a consumer drone into an area where the police are trying to do some serious business, especially here with a lot of weapons and all that. But what kind of got me interested was how much the police officer and the news dedicated the time to explaining how dangerous it is to live stream the video from the drone, because it could leak out like their operations or the negotiation tactics, like all that stuff. And it kind of made me think, why hasn't this ever happened, or to my knowledge has never happened? Like when you have a live news copter that, you know, live feeds this stuff in the news, why hasn't people brought that up normally? I mean, there must be countless times where I've seen the news, Chapter 5 live in the scene of the crime right now, and I'd never heard like a news report focusing like say 30 seconds of the news complaining how the news media live streaming a live feed of the police incident caused them disruption in some ways and how it's so bad. So why is the drone so special in this case? Is it just because the video is coming from the drone, like all of a sudden it's a big deal? Like, would it matter if I go right now and I live stream it, like again, like on Facebook Live on my smartphone? Like, would you say the same thing? Like, it's kind of interesting to me how the emphasis here of live streaming the video is only really bad now that because it's the drone that's doing it. So that's kind of weird in many ways, I think. To me personally anyways, it almost sounds like it's just a bias towards the drone, honestly, unless someone else has like a better explanation. Because again, like if I was like say in one of those homes filming with my smartphone live, I don't think anyone would complain. Rather, they'd probably just reference the video saying, oh, look at this. Or again, if there was a news helicopter, people would probably be watching it saying, oh, what's going on next? I've never once heard people saying, hey, cut your live feed out, like in that sense. I mean, again, getting in the way of the operation is one thing, that's a different topic, but somehow specifically narrowing down the drone and the live feed videos are such a problem versus something else like a news helicopter just doesn't make sense to me in many ways. Actually, the other tidbit of this story that confused me a little bit is with the laws and the whole notion of phoning 911 and calling the police if they see a drone. Because in this case, I mean, does not everyone agree the situation is there was a drone in a police operation, which technically means you're performing a crime? So actually, I don't understand why the cops did not actually go and prosecute this guy, because apparently he live streamed it on Facebook Live, so there should be proof. Now they say he deleted it according to this report, and that they're hiding his name for, you know, for whatever reason, because he said he didn't like mean to or whatever, so he deleted it. But if it's a crime, isn't the news station obligated actually to release the information since they actually know who it is? Because it's kind of weird to me, because if you guys remember from that first seized drone incident in Canada, it sounded like the police really went out of their way to really find the guy that had the Mavic Pro that was near that helicopter. Now in this case, you actually have the cops that are around there. In my opinion, you have the evidence, if I'm not mistaken, because they said they actually know who the guy is, so why didn't they go and storm this guy, like whoever he is? Like, to me, that actually doesn't make sense in many ways. To me, it just adds that additional confusion to the laws and kind of goes back to my other thought before when it first came out, where the laws are so broad in this way, in many ways it just comes down to the person of authority's mood on whether or not they want to, you know, take advantage of the law in every way they can to punish someone just to make an example out of them, or if they don't feel like it, then they won't do it. I don't know, it always makes me think too, maybe in the situation with the drone up in the air, with the inconsistency of, if you say it's bad to live stream a video from a drone, then the same should be with a news helicopter. Maybe the whole situation is more about being afraid that the person they're going after is using the drone, if that makes sense. And because the police doesn't have resources to use the drone, then they're afraid the criminal will have the advantage, if that makes sense. I don't know, is that too far-fetched? Again, I'm just trying to make a rational explanation of all this, because there's just too much inconsistencies for the reasons people are saying the drones should be banned anyways. And if that is the case too, I mean, isn't it better just to embrace the technology and train like police officers or give them an access to a drone? How hard is it to get someone to have like a Mavic Pro or something like that and train with it? Even I learned it as a recreational flyer pretty fast. I believe in other countries they're doing that, aren't they? Like, they're actually training police officers to use drones. I mean, in my opinion, that's smart. I mean, if that is the issue, then that's the direction you should take, instead of like being afraid like the general public is going to have more things than the people of authority, if that makes sense. All right, other than that, see you guys later.